Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I've told you before, my favorite videos to do on this channel are the videos where if I've been doing research and I have an aha moment for myself, and then I'm able to put a video together knowing that I'm about to show you at least one or two aha moments. And this video, at the end of this video, I believe everybody that is in the XRP community, everybody that's listening, that's been around for a while, will have more than one aha moments, okay? And I'm going to start with this. This is the only piece of news besides what I'm going to talk about with Ripple that I'm going to cover. Rob Cash had tweeted this out. Busy work week for me, and this article escaped me, and this escaped the Digital Asset Investor too. The National Bank of Ukraine adopts Stellar Protocol to pilot digital currency e-hryvnia. I don't even know how to say that. But anyway, I'm not going to go into that article. It speaks for itself. They're using Stellar technology to pilot a digital currency. Okay, that's all I wanted to talk about there. Now, this is where I think that I'm going to show you some things that might blow your mind here. And it's all just one video that I found. And there are so many clips that I found in this one video that I was blown away after listening to these clips, really. Okay, now, this is something I actually had talked to Mr. B about this. We've kept on seeing Ripple, like they did it in the Ripple drop. They did it on their Twitter feed. They keep talking about this BRD wallet, okay? They keep interviewing some of the guys over at BRD. And I had talked to Mr. B about this, and I was like, there's something going on. There's something to this BRD thing. Well, the only couple of things that I knew, now other people may have found out some of the stuff that I'm showing you today, but if they did, I didn't see it. Okay, so this BRD, and basically what BRD is it's a wallet that goes on your phone, and you can use it to store Bitcoin and XRP and different things, okay? Well, there's tons of companies that have wallets, and so I always thought, what's so special about this? Now, the only two things that I knew about BRD, other than the fact that they were a wallet, an app you put on your phone, there's only two things I knew, and how it was relevant to Ripple was that Spring had invested in BRD, and that SBI had invested in BRD. But I didn't realize just how powerful the link between BRD and SBI and all of that is. And I'm going to show you just how powerful it is. And I'm going to present to you something I didn't know, but you might find out something you didn't know about SBI Ripple Asia today in the video I'm going to show you. So, but anyway, what got me curious about this is I kept seeing all this stuff out of Ripple, and I was thinking, okay, so they invested in it, but you know, it's just some wallet. I mean, there's all kinds of crypto wallets that people have on their phones. We've had the Toast wallet. There's been all kinds of wallets. So I was like, well, why these guys? Well, when I show you what I show you today, I think it'll come together in your mind. I think that this BRD wallet and the CEO of BRD is at the center. I think this guy's dead. I'm going to prove it. I'm going to show you that he is. He's in the middle of what's going on. Okay. Now, and you'll remember this was the Ripple drop where this guy right here, Aaron Voisin, president and co-founder of BRD Wallet. Well, the CEO is the guy that I want to go over with you. But first, let's look. Just to reiterate, SBI and Spring had invested in this company, BRD. All right, and here's their Twitter for those of you that don't follow them here, the BRD HQ. Well, when I started looking into BRD, something came up. This Blockset says also makers of Blockset HQ. Okay, so I went to their Twitter feed. Well, first let's look at I think I've got their Twitter right here. It says, ready to use blockchain tools that power sophisticated custodial solutions, gain valuable market insights, and help creative ideas come to life. Folks, I think that that BRD is a critical part of what's going on with Ripple and XRP. And I think that this Blockset thing is going to be in between, I think that PolySign is going to be involved in this. Like this is going to link PolySign to a consumer facing app. That's where I think this is going. But I was just looking around here. It says build enterprise. This is Blockset. See, it says by BRD. Build enterprise class blockchain solutions. Blockset lets your existing engineering team take your blockchain project to market in a fraction of the time. This is all, a lot of developer speak, not really my department, but you can see here. But if you go down to the bottom, they've got diagrams and things if you want to spend some time on here. And if you get to the bottom, they got a quote from Ethan Beard. Blockset by BRD has the potential to be a crucial part of the entire crypto ecosystem. The need for crypto development platforms for the broader financial services and banking industry is exceedingly underserved, while the groundswell of demand is at an all-time high. Blockset is uniquely positioned to capture this from Oceanfront. By the way, the guy, the CEO of BRD, calls him Capital's son, and it reminds me of the Karate Kid. They said Daniel's son was what the guy called Mr. Miyagi called the kid that was the Karate Kid, Daniel's son, and so they call him Capital's son. I didn't realize that, or if I did, I forgot. Blockset is uniquely positioned to capture a lot of the value we're seeing in enterprise blockchain projects. Working with Blockset has allowed SBI to accelerate the timeline of our crypto projects for a fraction of the development costs. Okay, now, so here's their Twitter feed if you want to go follow Blockset, all right? And this was all, I wanted to get this out of the way too. This was from the spring blog back on February 12th of 2020. In October, we announced an investment in BRD, one of the oldest and most respected crypto wallets in the industry. Today, BRD launched Blockset, a robust blockchain data integration platform offering a suite of tools for developers to build applications across multiple chains using a simple API. As a part of the launch, Blockset includes support for XRP, which will enable more developers with access to the XRP ledger as they build their apps. Okay, I just wanted to show you that. Now, here's where it gets interesting, folks. So I go to BRD's website, and I was looking through. Now, we had seen this guy. He was on the Ripple drop. I decided to focus in on their CEO, Adam Traidman, and it didn't take me long to find a recent piece of video. Okay, what you're about to see is an interview that this guy did with Anthony Pompliano, of all people. And as usual, Anthony Pompliano is clueless as to what he's really being told here in this video. But this guy, I learned two things. First thing I learned is that this guy's very smart, very sharp guy. The second thing I found out is that this guy is working out of Japan, and you're going to be you might be, unless this has gotten out somewhere and I just don't know about it, you're going to be very surprised. He is the CEO of 3 companies, BRD. I think it's called, he actually works with SBI folks. He's the CEO of 3 companies. I forget, I'm drawing a blank on the name of the second one, but the third one might just blow your mind. So I went and I found this video, and you talking about some clips in a video. Here we go. There's several clips I'm going to show you. Here we go. First clip.
For sure. And then you guys also have come out with Blockset by BRD, which is even an advertiser here on the podcast. And maybe talk a little bit about kind of what the idea or the genesis was for that body of work, and then kind of what you guys have built so far.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Bob. So we worked really hard to build a brand around BRD. And I think a big reason that the crypto folks are really on really helped accelerate the growth of the company and the app is because they trusted us. It's open source, right? So there's no funny business with, all your money's going to disappear someday. And we've never had any money hacked from any BRD app, actually. right? Because it's decentralized. There's like no honeypot, right? And so we took that brand, that trust, and that sort of, technology, right? And it happened as a result, to be honest with you, of our relationship with SBI. So remember I said that I started to really get into the Japanese sort of relationships and business. Well, when we created BRD, I came back to Japan and we actually raised a lot of money from here. And then later in the company's evolution, SBI contacted us and they said, hey, we'd really like to include the BRD consumer app in our new crypto banking flow. By the way, we'd like to invest some money in your company. And at the time, we weren't even raising money. We told them honestly we weren't so interested. But eventually, we ended up, taking the strategic investment from them. And as part of that investment, we sat down with their technology teams. They've got some really smart people, Pomp, here in Tokyo. And what they said was, well, okay, now we understand how your architecture works. You ought to take the back end of your consumer app, okay, which is, sort of like the server side, right? Talks to all different blockchains. And maybe we could use that too. And so our CTO and I and the management team sat down and we thought, you know what, there's a really big opportunity here. So we took the back end of the consumer app, talks to all the different blockchains. We productized it. We turned that into Blockset, a set of building blocks to basically help companies build software for blockchain access quicker, right, and at lower cost, and don't have to run nodes, lower infrastructure costs. And I think really importantly, it's out there in production with 4 million customers for the BRD app, so you can trust it, right? Plus the core of it's open source as well. So we productized it with help from SBI. SBI became our first customer of Blockset. They launched in production with it a few weeks ago, actually, for their crypto banking platform. And now it's a product that we're selling in our enterprise sort of division of the company. And we're having great success just in the last few months since it launched. And we appreciate all the folks out there helping us with that, getting the word out like you are. And we've got major accounting firms now signed. We're working with big cross-border payment companies. I can't really say the names, but they're the big companies that you would know. And, it's just about them looking at this. It's like
he's working with big cross-border payment companies, but he can't say anything about that. Just like the CTO of R3 can't say anything about that, right? Okay, now let's go to 1640. I had no idea how connected with SBI this guy was, and you're really going to find out how connected, and to Ripple.
Not only helping them build their products, but also then giving them access to the various blockchains as well.
Right, that's right. So it's not, so AWS is more like, hosting compute resources, right? And so when you want to build blockchain apps, right, certainly one of the big issues is like running your own, say, Bitcoin node or Ripple node or Ethereum node. Actually, that costs a lot of money. But just running nodes, that's just one piece of value that we add, right? The real value, I think, is we have one API. Okay, that means there's one set of functions to call by an engineer to access any blockchain. That actually is pretty powerful because today, if I'm sitting at a bank and I want to offer, say, crypto bank accounts to my customers, I've got to write code to talk to Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, all these other blockchains. And there's forks and there's all these changes and there's bugs. And man, it's a lot of work. Not to mention that I got to have a legion of engineers who understand the nuances of each blockchain. What Blockset does is it puts a layer on top of all those individual blockchains, whether they're private or public. And it basically, it takes all the data from them, has this sort of metadata layer because we can analyze the blockchain data as well. And then there's one API on the top. So your engineers only have to code to one spec. And as we add more blockchains in the Blockset sort of, SaaS environment, then those blockchains just immediately become available to our customer who's building blockchain software with Blockset, and they don't have to do any real incremental coding or anything, right? Plus, we handle all the infrastructure issues from running the servers to the forks to the maintenance, and all of those things as well. And then we've got partners that do things like AML and transaction checking, right, and custody as well. So you could build custodial banking apps with Blockset like SBI did, right? And you could just, myriad sort of applications. You want to add virtual cryptocurrency or virtual currency to a video game. You could do it with Blockset.
Oh,
well, so.
Video game. Isn't Ripple doing things with Forte?
Kind of anything in that space.
For sure. And I guess maybe help us understand, like, this infrastructure came out of what was built for the BRD wallet and kind of that whole ecosystem. Like, maybe share some data in terms of like how many users or how much assets.
I want you to listen close. Listen to how huge, how massive this BRD is.
Whatever you're comfortable sharing, but can just give us a sense of like, it's not like this is a mobile application that's used by, a couple hundred people, right? I mean, there's millions of people.
Right. Yeah, that's right, man. So the BRD consumer app, like 4 million users in 170 countries, right? And, upwards of a 500,000 or more sort of unique users that are sitting in the app, every day, every week, going through and looking at their money, their hodlers, or they're doing trading and whatnot. We estimate most recently that the assets under protection, we call it, we don't use AUM because we don't hold our customers' money, right? Being decentralized bank, right? We use AUP, assets under protection, is over 6 billion USD. 6 billion, USD
6 billion
that users are holding in the app. Last time we did had the ability to do sort of an anonymous sort of averaging on different aspects of the money being protected in BRD. Our users held on average around 5 to 6 times more crypto than, say, your average Coinbase user. And I don't think that necessarily is, means that BRD or Coinbase is better or worse, but what it means is our users are more engaged, right? And they're investing seriously through the app, not just casually buying $10 worth of Bitcoin or something like that.
That makes me think if for some reason people are trusting this BRD wallet, people with a lot of money, and they must know something I don't know. All right. Okay. Now we're going to go to the next clip. It's really going to be fascinating for you how connected this guy is with the SBI. It's not just they invested in the guy and then he disappeared. Watch this.
Sort of resonates in certain geographies too.
For sure. Speaking of Japan, SBI is, I think, for many people, they don't know that much about SBI, but realize that they're a big organization and they're into crypto and Bitcoin. Maybe talk a little bit about the environment there in Japan for digital assets, and then we can get into SBI mining as well.
Okay, sure, Pump. So SBI actually is a 20-year-old company. It's a large investment bank. It's a Tokyo Stock Exchange public company, originally SoftBank Investments. So it's actually a spin-off of SoftBank 20 years ago. And it's a very big company, 5,000-6,000 people, $10 billion, that kind of a thing, right? And they provide, like many Japanese companies, there's like a conglomerate, right? There's like 200 subsidiaries. They do everything from, and I think got their name from like an E-Trade-like consumer, trading service over the internet. They have a net-based bank. SBI has a huge business in Japan. They're also big in South Korea, Southeast Asia, even Russia. Not a lot going on in the US in terms of their traditional banking business. But I think the reason why people know SBI is, I think SBI is probably the most active investor in the overall crypto and blockchain space by number of companies that they've invested in. The company operates several multi-billion-dollar funds, not just for crypto investing, but with a really strong focus on that. And that's because Kitao-san, the CEO of SBI, he's more akin to a guy like Masa-san at SoftBank, progressive, more sort of embracing global thinking rather than sort of the more traditional, sometimes myopic, kind of Japanese conservative mindset. And so he looked at what happened between the record companies and Apple, and he didn't want that to happen to him, being a bank. And while a lot of other banks are dabbling a little bit in crypto, perhaps, or sort of, closing their eyes to it, Kitao-san is going all in. And that's what really attracted us at BRD to work with SBI. And in a traditional Japanese way, they're not just going in and saying, hey, we're going to launch and operate an exchange in Japan, which they do. They're going like sort of vertical integration style, right? Remember when Sony used to build the chips, the boards, the TVs, then they operated the retail store? Damn, that's some vertical integration, right? Now, with SBI, they're operating exchanges. And then they said, well, how do we get liquidity and fresh coins into exchanges? Well, we could buy miners, or we could build the back.
Okay, and then here's the net. I've got a couple more clips that are great. Watch this. You're going to be blown away. It's coming. Okay.
I already have a day job. Thanks very much. Very much appreciate the opportunity. But it's long-term relationships here in Japan. It's about getting in the circle of trust. And, you know, SBI had just invested $15 million in BRD. And, you know, I thought it was important to have reciprocity there and gratitude. And so I told them that I would help with the mining business. And so today I'm also the CEO of SBI Mining Chip. And then in October of last year, they also asked me to become the CEO of SBI and Ripple's joint venture called SBI Ripple Asia. So you can imagine running 3 companies.
Yes, you heard that right. You're looking at the CEO of SBI Ripple Asia, who is also the CEO of Bread Wallet and also the CEO of, I believe it's called SBI Mining.
I have nothing but spare time on my hands, but I find myself going back and forth between Tokyo and San Francisco quite a bit. But it's interesting to have that visibility across these different businesses, right? And I'll tell you, you know, they say in the semiconductor space, all roads lead to Taiwan because all the chip manufacturing there. I feel like increasingly, and I'm partial, but you know, all roads lead to Tokyo in crypto. Japan has always had this weird magnetism pump to Bitcoin. Think about it. You know, why was Carpulus here? Why was Mt. Gox in Japan of all places, right? Roger Ver was running around Japan a lot. Japanese government, most
He lives there now.
conservative in the world about money, decides to become the first one to declare Bitcoin or crypto as money? That's so bizarre. And then you've got SBI, and you've got Katasan, and you've got all of that. So there's this natural sort of affinity to things here, right? And now that there's a lot of capital coming out of Japan from SBI and others in crypto as well, you know, there is this sort of magnetism that I feel as well. And so I feel, you know, happy and honored to kind of be part of it and at the center of it.
I thought that was fascinating. All roads lead to Japan. All roads lead to SBI, folks. Now, this last clip was fascinating to me. It's not really about Ripple and XRP, but it's about what's going on in China, because this guy has spent time there, and it's something you need to hear. Listen to what he says. It's a pretty decent clip here.
Kind of all throughout Asia, is there any 1 or 2 things that you think is important for them to know about the region that maybe they don't know or wouldn't think to that would be important?
Yes, there is actually, and it's all about China. I don't think the world really understands this very important thing that's happening right now. Nothing to do with coronavirus, okay? So, you know, I've been traveling to China for business for 10 years, call it, right? And for the mining company, I was in Shanghai about 9 months ago or so, and yeah, late last year. And I went into a store, you know, a normal store that I've been to several times before, just kind of like a convenience store. And I grabbed some stuff, I whipped out my RMB, you know, my Chinese yuan to pay cash. Sorry, we don't accept cash. By the way, I speak some Chinese, so like, you know, I knew exactly what the guy was saying. I said, don't accept cash. How the hell can you not accept cash, right? I mean, it's like in a mall. Okay, this isn't like some little mom and pop shop, okay? And so I was like, okay, I'm thinking, I've been here before. Oh, wait, here's my Visa. We don't accept Visa or MasterCard. It's like, you used to. We don't accept Visa or MasterCard anymore. I'm thinking, the hell do you accept, man? Right? And of course, it's WeChat Pay or Alipay. Now, here's the killer. Until recently, you couldn't even load WeChat with money if you didn't have a Chinese bank account. So you figure, what the hell is the Chinese government doing? They're restricting capital coming into the country. They're making it difficult for foreigners to transact. Why would they do that? And then why aren't they getting on the bandwagon? You know, why don't they reauthorize crypto exchanges? Why didn't they put rules down so that companies like BTC China and stuff could operate again? Why haven't they bought into, you know, new sort of financial technologies and all this stuff? Why are they just using like WeChat Pay and Alipay and all this, right? Well, the reason is because they don't give a crap about anything else. They know that they have the biggest economy in the world and they get to call the shots. Remember who called the shots in the early days of the global economy? It was the United States government. We created SWIFT. We created the entire global banking system. And if people wanted to do business with America, which was and continues to be this big economy, they had to play by the rules of the U.S. Department of Treasury. They had to be on the wire transfer network. They had to let the banks conform to all the U.S. rules, even though the banks are in other countries. It's crazy, but it makes sense because everyone else in the world wanted to do business with America. Guess what's happening right now? Nobody seems to get this, Bob. In 5 years, if you don't support the digital RMB, you can't do business with China. I don't mean the government. I mean any Chinese company, as is evidenced by the fact that I can't even use their own goddamn cash in their own country anymore. You know? Now, fortunately, the hotels still take Visa and stuff. Okay. And nowadays, it's easier for foreigners to load money onto things like WeChat. It's still damn difficult, though, right? And the reason that they don't care is because they know that everyone's going to play by their rules. So, for example, you know, innovations in technologies to help cross-border payments, like what I see in my role with Ripple and the Ripple joint venture, right, which is a much better solution to cross-border payments than old technologies like SWIFT. And you think, well, why wouldn't China jump at something like this, right? Especially it's, you know, relatively controllable, you know, doesn't have to be like decentralized like Bitcoin and stuff. And the reason is because they don't need to care. They're creating the digital RMB. They're going to impose it upon the world just like the US did with the dollar in the early days. And they know that because they have the most people, you know, of anywhere or well, you know, maybe India, China, right, this kind of thing, right? But anyway, the point is, if you want to do business with them, you're going to have to support it. No one's working on that right now, okay? So that's why at least the way I can help, I hope, with BRD is Blockset. We're looking at having digital asset support for the digital RMB so that companies, like every bank in the world, every company in the world is going to need to do business with China. They're going to need software to basically, you know, handle the digital RMB. To me, this is the biggest, you know, potential sort of massive issue in the economic, global economic situation.
Can you imagine this BRD wallet being like a gateway to this digital R&B, and XRP is somewhere in the transfer process? And the whole world is about to completely change, and so many people, like 99.9% of the population, have no idea what's going on. And you and I were here. Before I go, last day, 50% off Ledger Nano S is in the description of every video I do. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that we have ourselves a new CEO of SBI Ripple Asia. And his name is Adam Traidman, and he is the CEO of BRD as well. Thank you for listening.